Constitutional Court in Johannesburg is set to rule on the constitutionality of the Executive Ethics Code this morning. Now, at the center of this rule would be whether or not those who are campaigning for leadership positions within political parties should disclose their donations. The funding of ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa's CR17 campaign has come under heavy scrutiny. Public Protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane had investigated allegations that Ramaphosa received donations for his campaign from politically connected company Bosasa and others. The president has assured Parliament that he never received such a donation. Our reporter Kenny Mapanga is standing by with an update. Kenny, a good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, tell me what you've gathered so far, what you're seeing there in the ConCourt. But also, I think it's important to go back to really the genesis of why this process is unfolding in ConCourt today.
Well, good morning to you and the viewers at home, coming to you live from the ConCourt, where you've correctly stated that the highest court in the land will be delivering judgment on the question on the constitutional validity of the Executive Ethics Code with respect to politicians and their campaigns that they run, or donations for their campaigns within their own internal party politics. Now, just to place the matter in context very quickly, the judgment will begin at about 10 a.m. So to give the viewers a bit of background, you may remember the Public Protector's report entitled the Report on Investigation into a Violation of the Executive Ethics Code regarding the improper relations between African Global Operations, which was formerly known as Bosasa, and the President Cyril Ramaphosa. Now, you may remember that one of the findings of the Public Protector is that she found that the President was in breach of the code because he failed to disclose that particular donation. Now, we know that the code only deals with members of Cabinet, deputy ministers, and members of the Executive Council. It's a bit vague when you speak about politicians as well as their internal party campaigns and whether they should be disclosing those donations that lead to specific positions within their political parties. Now, the Amabungane Center for Investigative Journalism, and NPO, is the applicant in the matter. You may remember they were granted leave to intervene in the review application of that specific Public Protector report to deal with this constitutional issue of the code. You remember that the counter application was based on the interpretation of this code regarding the disclosure of donations and whether it extended further than members of the executive, the cabinet, deputy ministers, as well as members of the Executive Council. Now, we already know what it's aimed at governing regarding the Code of Ethics, but this question is more of a looking at the future as to curb, or maybe you can look at the significance rather of the code, is that if they confirm this order that it was declared unconstitutional, it's a principled one, because it will be looking at the question of whether, on a proper interpretation of the code, any member is required to make disclosure of funding received in support of any campaign by him or her, even when they are in office. So at about 10 a.m., we'll be getting that judgment. They'll be seeking confirmation of this declaration by the full bench. And if we're talking about the significance, as I've stated earlier, it's basically aiming to curb potential corruption in the form of kickbacks being granted to private donors. Of course, we already know the story of Bosasa and the aspersions casted on the president through the CR17 campaign by those private donors. So we'll be monitoring this case from about 10 a.m. That judgment will be delivered over to you in studio.
Yeah, Kenny, just quickly before we let you go, we know how important this judgment is for political parties. Are you seeing their presence at ConCourt at the moment? Have you spoken to any of them about really what they're wanting to hear today?
Well, it is a bit early. It's about 10 minutes before the judgment. I can step out of frame to give you the visuals of the Constitutional Court. As you can see, we only have legal representatives and the media present right now, but we do understand, due to the significance of this case, that interested parties such as the Amabungane Center for Investigative Journalism, as well as political parties that may be affected, could show up at 10 a.m. for this judgment. However, we'll continue to monitor that. After the judgment, we will be able to give you a comprehensive update regarding this matter and the constitutional validity of the code with respect to donations to politicians when they are running their internal political party campaigns.